Alright, welcome back. This is video number 11. Maybe a short one, I don't know. Took a little break. Visited some friends last night at Anstead's. It was good, great to see them. Which is a local cigar bar, Anstead's. I don't know if they have a franchise anywhere else, but anyway, pretty nice place. But yeah, starting to continuing to work on this. I guess you can see it. I never know where to place this exactly. I think that's about right there. Let me see here. I guess that's about right. All right, so when you're doing these things, sometimes it can get overwhelming. Like there's so many things to do. Like this has been bugging me. I mean, this I was going to say I am going to save this for last. But this doesn't look like Sophia Loren, so I've got there's a million things that I can see right now that's the reason it doesn't, but that I've got to fix. Okay. And then you've got the background that you got to fix. You've got the shading. The dress has got details that's. I may work on some of those today, and the dress. This dress had these white patches all in different locations all over it, and if you don't put them in the correct dimensions, of course they don't look right. So you've got to look at each one of those, compare it to the grid on your drawing, and try to get it the right size. To first get the right size, and then there's details inside of it which you got to put on there. This needs detail. This trim around here actually has a seam in the middle of it that you can't see right now. You got to put that in there. Got to put the details on here. This belt has lines on it. Shadows in places that you got to put in. The right value of shade. And because this picture is so old, I mean it's been retouched, but still you lose detail. So you gotta think for yourself and put the detail in there. It's like this is a shadow. Right? A lot of this is her hair, but in the actual photo, you can't see her hair because it was an older photo, and so the hair and the shade that blend in together. But you know it's a shade, so you still got to make this a shade, and in a shade you can detect the background in it. So you got to put some of that bluish gray color of that old tree back there, and then you got to put the shadows in the tree. I mean, when you come and sit, that's why I take days off. When you come and sit down and look at it again, there's so much work to be done. It's like it's easy to say, hell with it, but if you do, you're never going to produce anything. And I'm lazy, so that's one reason that I haven't done many of these, because it's a lot of detail and it takes a long time, and usually I don't get a return on mine. Usually I don't get any return on most of my stuff. It's just I try to do the best I can, and then I expend the money that I do and the time, and you know, if people like it, that's a good reward for me. But like I say, yeah. So when you're painting, you come back and you can be overwhelmed by everything you got to do. I mean, there's things I have to do all over this entire board. I mean, a lot of work all over this entire board. And if I sat if I sat down and thought of how many hours that was going to take, it'd be easy to quit. But I'm not a quitter, so. But anyway, so today I may work on a little bit of I may work this eye, and it's a thing for me that I like to get right first off the bat, and I haven't yet on her. Is the eyes. This one is not right. So I've got to mix some skin color and narrow this eye on the tops very slightly. And like I say, this photograph was taken in '59, so there's actually the white of her eye is over here. You can't see that. You can't see that in the photograph that they used because it was taken with an older camera and wasn't digital. But I know it's there, so I've got to try to put that there and put it in the right spot. But yet, it's still in shadow from her eyelash. This right here, down here, that I've got to paint in, I drew that in with a pencil, is a shadow from her eyelash. She had long eyelashes. This one here, I extended too far. It's too long, so I've got to take that out. And these little things will help make her face look more like her face. Her mouth is not. The shape is 99% right, but the shading is not at all right. The color is not at all right. The highlights are not in there at all, and that's a biggie, especially with her. And then there's shadows underneath her lip, and the shadows on her face. This little line that you won't be able to see later, I put that in because I know to define her neck. Her neck is long and thin, and in that shadow, I put her neck way too far over here because of that. That's an earring, not her ear. Which when I drew it out in the pencil, I should have. I mean, I was looking at the grid, but I didn't. That's why when you put these grids, you got it's better if you number them in tenths. Then you can then you can get everything more accurate. But it's so time consuming. I don't do it. Now on a larger painting, I would probably do it around the face if it was a portrait. But on the other stuff, I wouldn't, because it's just too time consuming. And then you've got to make these lines disappear later on, So, but yeah. So I just stuck this before I quit the other day. I put this line around here to reiterate where her neck is, and that's shadow, so no biggie. I've got to go over all of this again. So these white spots, you won't see the lines. I've got to, at some time in the future, I've got to go over that and make that look right. That'll be the final thing. Probably what I work on today is getting these things on her dress in here, and the photograph was such that, where did I put it? that I can't really tell what those things are. I mean, they're flower looking things, and I guess they were meant to be flowers, but they're not. They don't look like any flower you could recognize. It's just whoever made this dress just designed some flower looking things and put them on there. Like I say, this dress, this movie was made the year I was born. So, you know, it's 66 years ago. So, and this movie was made in the Sahara, somewhere near the Sahara Desert, in the Sahara Desert. So, this dress was probably bought locally. So, you're not gonna find, I'm not gonna find that design anywhere. So you got to put that in there and make it look, try to make it look real, but you don't, you know. But anyway, that's another concern. But I've got to put these, I've got to try to put these in there today. So that may be what I'll work on, is putting them in their spot. I'll do that with a pencil, and then I'll go over them with some little bit of white just to get them located. And that'll take that'll take quite some time. It may be boring, but like I say, you can stick around if you like, or but I'll keep making these, and we'll get there. Hopefully, eventually, we'll get there eventually. And hopefully this will look like I want it to. And I'm going to have to put some detail in here that isn't in the photograph. But I'll do that until I get it looking like her. So the good thing about who it is she has such recognizable features that it helps. You know. But still, she was a unique individual, is a unique individual. So, I'm going to try to do her justice. But I tell you, the subtlety is in these shadows. I mean, this is just paint that I put on there. It's going to look nothing like it will, because you got to put the shadow and still be able to see the trees through it, which I don't have in there right now, and that's another thing I'm gonna work on. But like I said, you can't concentrate on one thing too much. So right up now, I'm gonna start on. Putting these flowers in here, and like I said, maybe a little boring for you. Probably will be. But yeah, let's see here. And for everything, you can use your grid, but for instance, right down here is another one of those shapes, but it's such a irregular shape that you can pretty much improvise, and nobody's going to be the wiser, as long as you get the general feeling for it, you know what I mean? That's crazy. But yeah, it's frustrating, you know, you work on something like this, and you spend so many hours or weeks on it, and then somebody will see it that doesn't know anything about art, or maybe they do, and then they'll go, "Oh, and I give you $50 for that." It's like, yeah, no shit. You know, I'm flattered. You know. Yeah. I don't know. When the actual, you know, I don't, obviously don't do it for the money. I wouldn't mind, but I would, if I did, I'd like to, I would have to make me I'd have to make a studio out back. I'd make it in my yard, because I wouldn't want any place I'd have to lock up and worry about security. You know, in town, you can rent buildings, and I could. I could rent some building downtown or in town somewhere, but there's no way in hell I would rent anything in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and and lock it up and leave anything valuable in it. You know, not happening. Come back one day and then, you know, everything's gone. This place is not the place for that. If I lived in Montana or Wyoming or somewhere, then maybe so. As long as it wasn't in a city, you know. But not here. No. No. Yeah, these shapes are so irregular. And I know you can't see them, but I may do a few of these and I'll put some white paint on them so you can see where they're at least. Charlie built it in. Now this particular shape on this one looks like a leaf. Seven. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm not so concerned about getting these shapes right, because you literally can't tell what it is anyway. I mean, I will try to make it somewhat discernible, but Actually, I need to. I will put some white paint on these because it helps me to see where I was. And yeah, it helps me see where I was. So yeah, I will do that. I will do that. I will. Okay. I just gotta find the right. Gotta find the right brush. I think perhaps I have. Let me see. This paint, I've left it up here, and it's hot, so some of this paint has dried. It may be of use to still. Not too much paint thinner in that, and I didn't dry it off. Too much paint thinner. Like you say, hot as it is. Hot as it is. Sure won't take it long to dry. But yeah, that's mostly paint. That paint's no good. I try not to waste paint, but you know, you can only use it so long. It dries up, and you got to. So I was trying to save it, but trying to save my paint, but nope. I gotta use some more. Nope. The paint is dry. We gotta put some of this, some more white out there, and I bought a tube of that a while back, so good for a little bit on that. What I'm still using is the white that I had, so. And because this dress was older in the photograph, because in this movie that this still is from, she was supposed to be a prostitute in what is that place? On the edge of the Sahara, that town. I'll think of it in a minute. If you've heard the name, you know it. So yeah, like I said, she was supposed to be a prostitute, so she couldn't afford. The dress was cheap, you know. So it was kind of, it faded in the movie, so that's where you got to paint it. Bugs me, I can't think of the name of that city. On the edge of the desert. it's a popular name that you would associate with something in the middle of nowhere, which is probably why people use the term. But bugs me. Think of that. I'll think of it in a minute, hopefully. The movie this is from is one of my favorite movies. Legends of the Lost. Legend of the Lost. John Wayne and Sophia Loren. Other Italian actor. Guy, what was his name? I don't think it's Timbuktu, and it might be the name of that town. It was something similar. That may have been it. I'll have to look that up again. Say that, and this is, like I say, such a process. I'm just putting some paint on here to locate these spots so that I can work on them later and get some kind of detail into them later. A project that when I initially looked at doing this, I thought 2 weeks, I can do it in 2 weeks. And no, even if I had, you can only paint so long before you start making mistakes, so it's time to wrap it up, I could, if I put myself to a schedule and painted 8 hours a day, nowadays I don't have it wouldn't be worth it to me to do that, but you start making mistakes when you're doing something like that, and you make mistakes anyway. You know what I mean? But now, if I was making money, could I paint 8 hours a day? Yes. And if I had a shop where it was my business, yes, I could. As long as I was getting returns, But it is work, and it is, there's stress in it that you put on yourself. It's stressful. I get stressed doing this, and I'm not getting anything out of it, and it's just that I want it to turn out right, So wind up stressing yourself on it, and that's when it's time to stop. If I feel myself getting annoyed, then I'll stop. I'll stop for the day. Okay, so at least now I can see where these spots are. And that'll help me with the rest of them. This is all over her dress, these things. Near as I can tell, they're leaves of some sort. Or they were meant to be leaves. Some of them look like leaves, some of them don't. Because they're in folds of the dress, you know. And some of them are, you know, they're turned sideways, so you can't tell what they initially look like. But yeah. And sometimes stuff like this is frustrating. You'll put it on there and it doesn't look like, I mean, it doesn't look like it's supposed to, and you know it doesn't. But to people who see it, they're thinking, what the hell? What the hell are you doing? What is that? You know, because that's what you're thinking yourself. Like, damn, that don't look like anything. But when all's said and done, you know, it will. Hopefully, ideally it will. Not necessarily, but hopefully. That's the objective. This lady is 93 this year. God bless her. She's been elegant her whole life. I mean, I've always admired. I mean, she's beautiful. You know, when I was young, of course, she was like a goddess. And she still is, you know. That's the thing. She still is. She's a elegant woman. And I don't know her, of course. But I can tell by the way she carries herself. And she never went for any of that plastic surgery and none of that crap. She just, she aged naturally, and she looks like the elegant woman that she is. She is an exception. I think she's one of the most beautiful women on this planet. Like that saying about that, like that movie, what was it, Troy, that movie Troy, they were saying in there, you know, I lived in the time of Achilles. And I always say, well, I lived in the time of Sophia Loren and Raquel Welch and Gina Lola Brigida, you know. Some greats. Some greats. People who set the standard for being a woman. They were elegant. Elegant. Not crude and ignorant, you know, like they are today. I mean, some of them today, they may look good on the outside, but they're ignorant. They're crude and they're ignorant when they speak. And that, no matter what they look like, that ruins it right there, you know. These women were never like that. All right, we're at 35 minutes, so I'm gonna go ahead and upload this one, and then I'll continue to paint, and I'll make another one. And this will be number 11, oil on canvas. 24 by 36. Thanks for stopping in.